Covered calls are known to be a great income strategy, but they can cost you a lot of money. For example, I own 200 shares of AMD that I use to sell 2 covered calls on each month for around $1,200. But the problem is that I have $18,000 tied up into this one single stock, and if I wanted to diversify into an ETF like QQQ, that would cost me $30,000 in order to buy 100 shares. But luckily, there's a solution where you only need to start with around $20 using covered call ETFs. Covered call ETFs have been gaining popularity over the last about 6 months or so since the stock market hasn't been doing so hot. Just like investors flock to dividend stocks during a recession in order to help supplement their income, now investors are looking to this new type of investment. And I say they're new, but really they've been around since about 2010. And on the surface, they don't look great. QQQX was started back in 2007 before the great financial crisis, and since then, it's only up about 15%. And if you look at Qyld, it's actually down 30% since its inception back in 2013. And if we compare these to QQQ, the underlying ETF that these funds are selling covered calls on, this is up by over 250% since 2013 and up over 500% since 2007. So it's pretty safe to say that these funds have massively underperformed the market. And the reasoning for this is because of the way a covered call works. Whenever you sell a covered call, you're agreeing to sell 100 shares of your stock at the strike price that you choose. And it doesn't matter what the stock is at your expiration date. It could be way above the strike price and you still have to sell the shares at the strike price that you chose. For example, I sold a $73 and a $78 covered call on AMD, and now it's trading above $90. So if I had waited just a couple more weeks, I could have sold AMD for over $90, but I chose to sell it at $73 and $78. So now you see why these 2 covered call ETFs have massively underperformed QQQ during one of the greatest bull markets in history. But the highlight of these 2 investments is the income that you receive. QQQX has paid an average of around 9.5% annually over the last 13 years, whereas Qyld has paid an average of around 12% annually. This means if you wanted to make an extra $100 a month, you would need to invest $12,600 into QQQX, whereas you would only need $10,000 invested into Qyld. This is a lot cheaper than buying 100 shares of QQQ, which would cost you $30,000. But if you decided to buy QQQ yourself and sell your own covered calls, then you can make a lot more money. You can maximize your income by selling it at the money covered calls, and you would make about $1,000 a month on a $30,000 investment, for around a 3% return each month or 36% annually. But the problem again is that you're giving away your right to own 100 shares of QQQ, and if you're going with an at the money strike price, you're not giving yourself any room for upside on the stock. And like I was talking about earlier, this isn't exactly affordable for everyone. You need $30,000 to invest in 100 shares of QQQ, whereas if you wanted to buy Qyld or QQQX, you could start with only $20. And if you wanted, you could set up recurring investments to invest maybe $100 a month, and by the end of a year, you would have $1,200 invested into one of these ETFs, and you'd be making a whopping $10 a month. Don't hate on it. That's an extra Chipotle bowl each month. Before inflation, at least. You could also reinvest the income that you get from these covered call ETFs in order to compound your growth. For example, if I invested $10,000 into QQQX back in 2007, now that would be worth around $44,000 if I invested all of the income that I got from this covered call ETF. Unfortunately, my 12-year-old self didn't have this kind of insight. Instead, I was probably picking my nose and playing baseball. If I had waited until 2013 though and invested $10,000 in Qyld, now I would have around $25,000. I would have been better off buying Bitcoin, but I was too much of a goody two-shoes, wasn't into drugs back then. Silk Road, anybody? Anyway, QQQ has actually performed a lot better than Qyld since 2013, up around 35%, whereas again, Qyld is down by about 30%. Which brings us into which one of these is the best investment. And it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for growth, then it's QQQ hands down. If you invested $10,000 in QQQ back in 2013, now that would be worth about $35,000. If you invested that same $10,000 into Qyld and even reinvested your income, now that would be worth around $17,000. And finally, if you invested $10,000 into QQQX and reinvested the income from it, you would have $25,000 now. So if you're looking to grow your portfolio, then QQQ is going to be your best bet. But if you're looking for the highest income, then Qyld is going to be the best because it has the highest payout rate of 12%. But again, the problem here is that you're sacrificing the performance of the underlying ETF. But if you want a nice mixture of both growth and income, then QQQX is going to be the best pick. Now, 30% over the last 9 years is nothing to write home about, but that extra income could buy you some more Chipotle bowls. Let me know which ETF you would choose, or maybe even none at all. Thanks for making it all the way to the end, and thank you to all my patrons for the support. And as always, remember to stay positive, stay green. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.